Hello, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a lace front wig, the hand stitch method. What you see me doing here is comparing a regular wig cap to the one that I customized to the size for my client. She is a 20 circumference, and now what I'm doing is I'm just checking the circumference to make sure that before I begin stitching, it is still at 20. Now, you may not be able to see it, but it did measure out to 19, so I'm just going to adjust it in the back a little bit and remeasure it, and then I'm going to get started. So once I got the desired measurement, I'm going to go ahead and begin stitching on the lace frontal. You see this lace frontal is transparent, and you can find this at themcexperience.com. So I'm going to go ahead and position the lace frontal to where I think it should be. I'm going to pin it down, and then I'm going to measure the ear tabs on the side to make sure they are even. Once I make sure that they're even, that lets me know that the frontal is centered. I'm going to braid the hair away, and I'm going to measure it from the nape. One thing that I did forget to mention is you do want to measure it from the forehead to the nape, also just to make sure that the frontal is in the right position and that it actually fits your client's head. So when I'm sewing down my frontal, I do sew it closely together. I just want to make sure that there's no lumps and no bumps, and one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that your stitching is neat and that it is very close. And I like to loop through, kind of creating a knot as I sew. Now I zoomed in a little bit so that you can kind of see the motion in which I'm going. I go in from the top, and then I come out from the bottom, and I loop through as I'm pulling the needle through. I loop through the thread, creating that knot I was talking about. And once that is completed, I tie my knot on the end, and I begin sewing. Now, I don't know if you can see or not, but I did double stitch, not double stitch, I doubled these tracks on the sewing machine. It just makes it easier. It lays a lot flatter, and it's definitely neater. There's a zoom in section right there. So what I like to do is I like to start at the very bottom of the cap. That way you'll be able to pull the hair up if you want to into a low ponytail without actually seeing any tracks or cap. It makes it more seamless. And once again, you can see me going through and looping to create a knot as I stitch. I put the needle through, I bring the thread over, I pull upwards, and it creates a knot. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to show you how to fold it over neatly. What you do is you put a stitch at the very end, and then you fold the weft over. And instead of stitching on the very end again, that's going to create bulkiness. You start a little bit further off, maybe about half an inch or so off from where it is folded, and that way it'll lay down flat. The fold will be flat and it won't be bumpy. If necessary, comb the hair out of the thread and continue sewing. See how flat that is? and then I just start with the looping method again. Now, what you see me doing here is I'm going to begin laying the tracks from side to side. I was going into a U shape, and once I get maybe about 2 inches up to the top, I'm going to lay the tracks from side to side. And I'm going to also cut the tracks at this point. This way you don't have to worry about any lumps, any bumps. You just want it to be flat and seamless. Also, what I do is I try to attach the track onto the track that is on the side. I don't know if you can see that, but that way it also helps it lay as flat as possible. And once I feel like it is attached well enough, I go ahead and I stitch with my loop method. Now once I get towards the very top, I do change up my sewing pattern. Now the way that I like to sew it is I get as close as possible to the frontal or the closure, whatever you're using, and I lay it as flush as possible to the cap, and I begin doing what I like to call a weaving method, and that is I start from the bottom, because remember the tracks are still doubled. So I start from the bottom, and then I move around to the top and loop it underneath from the top, and the thread and the needle comes through the middle. Again, I go from the bottom, loop it in through the middle, pull it through, and the thread and needle comes out from the middle. Come around to the top, loop it in the middle, and the thread and needle comes through the middle. That way the actual thread itself, it creates a weaving pattern, and it lays super flat. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Now as you can see here, I'm literally going in from the top and pushing the needle through the middle, creating a knot in the middle. Going in from the bottom, pushing the needle through the middle, and creating that knot in the middle. Do you see how flat that track is laying? That's how flat you want your track to be, where the closure or the frontal is. That way it is seamless, secure, and undetectable. You will not be able to tell that there is a track sitting right behind that frontal. Notice the thread. The thread is coming through the middle, and it is very secure. It's not going anywhere. And I'm just going to continue doing this until I complete this section. Once it's done, I secure the end just like I secure the rest of the tracks. And yeah, you can take a look at it. You can see it's flat, it's very seamless, and it is very secure. That is how I'm able to make my tracks doubled all the way to the top, but I still make sure that it's flat. Now, of course, what you're going to do is you're going to cut out the excess cap from underneath it. This is where, if you wanted to add your elastic band, you can. If you wanted to add combs, you can. And you can also use the elastic from the cap, the excess cap. You can use that. And she is finished. This is the final product. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.